Welcome back to Legacy Labs. Today I want to walk through the basic diagnostic movement behind any Legacy Labs piece. A Legacy Labs breakdown might start with AI, branding, relationships, teams, cultural memory, organizations, or a stalled work. The subject changes, but the diagnostic movement stays the same. The real question is always, what is the system trying to carry, and where is that meaning breaking under pressure? That is what the five-part diagnostic helps us see: surface problem, false fix, structural break, the NA read, and the strategy shift. That movement is how we get from what people notice on the surface to what is actually happening underneath. So, the surface problem. The surface problem is what people notice first. The AI doesn't sound like me, the brand feels inconsistent, the audience is not responding, the team cannot decide, the same relationship pattern keeps returning. These observations may be true, usually they are, but they only describe what is visible. They tell us where the frustration appears, they do not explain what keeps producing it. That distinction matters because most people stop too early. They see the symptom, name the symptom, and then try to fix the symptom. But in narrative architecture, the surface problem is only the entrance. It's not the whole building. So when I start a Legacy Labs piece, I'm not only asking what is the problem, I'm also asking what kind of system would keep producing this problem. That is where the diagnostic begins. The false fix. So the false fix is the solution people reach for before they understand the structure. The AI feels generic, so they rewrite the prompt. The brand feels unclear, so they redesign it. The team stalled, so they schedule another meeting. The content feels scattered, so they build another calendar. The relationship repeats, so they search for a different person. And to be clear, these fixes are not always useless. Sometimes they create temporary relief. A better prompt may improve one output. A new calendar may organize one week. A new meeting may create movement for one conversation. But if the structure underneath is not changed, the pattern usually returns. That is the problem with surface fixes. They can make the symptom quieter without making the system healthier. So the false fix section is where we name the thing people usually try and then ask why it doesn't hold. Because if the same issue keeps returning after the fix was not structural enough. The structural break. So structural break is what keeps making the outcome possible. This is the part of the diagnostic that gets sharper. If people see the content but do not know what the creator represents, the issue is not only visibility, it's recognition. If AI produces polished writing but loses the original thought, the issue is not only prompting, it's meaning integrity. If the issue keeps delaying decisions, the issue is not only communication, it's a decision architecture. If the same relationship pattern keeps returning, the issue is not only the new person, it may be an inherited role rebuilding itself around a new person. That's the difference between surface description and structural diagnostic. The surface problem tells us what is happening, the structural break tells us why the system keeps allowing it to happen. That is where a Legacy Labs piece usually turns. We move from the obvious complaint into hidden architecture. Not this is broken, more like here's a structure that keeps making this break repeatable. So the narrative architecture read. So once the structural break is visible, narrative architecture gives us a way to read it. The primitives are not decoration, they're lenses. So Paul's asks, what central meaning must remain true? If this is AI, what thought must survive the draft? If this is branding, what emotional signal has to hold? If this is a relationship, what feeling keeps driving this pattern? Pressure. Pressure asks what is compressing, distorting, or testing that meaning. Pressure might be speed, scale, distance, public attention, old wounds, organizational incentives, or emotional risks. Rhythm. Rhythm asks what repeats, pauses, escalates, avoids, and returns. This is where we look at the pattern over time, not just one event, not just one bad moment, the entire sequence. Inheritance. Inheritance asks what roles, habits, assumptions, or histories were already there before the current problem appeared. A system never starts at zero. It always inherits something. Motif. Motifs ask what phrase, behavior, conflict, delay, or symbol keeps returning. The motif tells us what the system keeps circling. And then memory. Memory asks, what does the system actually carry forward? Not what it claims to value, not what it says it learned, what it actually repeats, preserves, rewards, or remembers. Not every Legacy Labs piece needs every primitive the same way. Sometimes pulse and pressure do most of the work. Sometimes rhythm and memory are the main diagnostic. Sometimes inheritance explains the entire issue. The point is not to force all six primitives. The point is to use them to see structure more clearly. So the strategy shift. So once the structural break becomes visible, the question changes. That is the point of the strategy shift. Instead of asking how do I make AI sound more like me, ask what meaning must the AI preserve before it starts drafting. Instead of asking how do I become more visible, ask what is my audience being trained to recognize or remember. Instead of asking why do I keep meeting the same kind of person, ask what role does my relational system keep rebuilding around new people. Instead of asking how can the organization decide faster, ask which unresolved decisions have already hardened into the way the organization operates. And that's the shift. The point is not to get a smarter sounding answer. The point is to ask the question at the right level. Surface questions create surface fixes. Structural questions create better interventions. And that's why the 5-part diagnostic matters. So surface problem, false fix, structural break, narrative architecture read, and the strategy shift. That movement turns confusion into diagnosis. And once you can diagnose the structure, you can stop chasing the symptom. And that's the core of Legacy Labs. Meaning breaks when structure fails. So I'll link this article into the description of the video. It just goes down what we just talked about, the 5-step process, as well as the breakdown on all the primitives. So you guys can check that out. I'll link that in there. If you guys have any diagnostics that you want to get done on your relationship, your AI workflows, your organization, anything where meaning needs to hold, definitely reach out. I would love to help you with that. In the meantime, I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.